Did you know your medieval ancestors might have eaten vegetables you've never heard of? Ever wonder what was on dinner plates before potatoes and tomatoes arrived in Europe? Number 9. Skirret, the sweet medieval carrot. Have you ever tasted sugar growing right out of the ground? Medieval farmers knew this delight well. Skirret, a once popular root vegetable that looks like a bunch of dirty white carrots growing in a cluster, was a staple in medieval gardens across Europe. People called it sugar root because when cooked, it released a natural sweetness that made it perfect for both savory dishes and desserts. Back in medieval times, before sugar was widely available, skirret provided that sweet kick that humans naturally crave. Kings and peasants alike munched on these sweet roots. According to historical records, skirret was so valued that it appeared in many garden plans of monastery gardens, where monks carefully tended these sweet treasures. The decline of skirret coincided with the arrival of new vegetables from the Americas, particularly the potato. Potatoes were easier to grow, produced higher yields, and stored better through winter. Slowly but surely, the skirret was relegated to the corners of history, though some historical gardeners still grow this sweet medieval delight. Imagine the taste slightly parsnip-like, but with a distinctive sweetness and a floury texture when cooked. Medieval cooks would boil skirret roots and serve them with butter and spices, or include them in hearty pottages, thick stews that sustained laborers through long work days. Some recipes even show skirret being candied or used in sweet pies, truly cementing its status as a versatile vegetable that bridged the gap between savory dish and dessert. Number 8. Good King Henry, the medieval spinach. What if I told you medieval Europeans had their own version of spinach long before global trade brought our familiar greens? Good King Henry, sometimes called poor man's asparagus, was a leafy green vegetable that medieval peasants could harvest from early spring right through late autumn. This resilient plant gets its quirky name not from any royal association but from folkloric connections to elves and goblins, whom Germans called King Henry. Growing wild along roadsides and easily cultivated in gardens, Good King Henry provided crucial nutrition during the hungry gap of early spring when winter stores ran low and new crops weren't yet ready. The young shoots could be harvested in spring and cooked like asparagus. Later, the tender leaves were picked and prepared like spinach. The plant's seeds could even be cooked like a grain. Talk about versatile. This 3-in-1 vegetable meant medieval gardeners got maximum value from minimal garden space. Good King Henry fell out of favor gradually as spinach, which was introduced to Europe around the 12th century, gained popularity. Spinach offered larger, more tender leaves and eventually replaced this medieval staple. Today, Good King Henry survives mainly in historical gardens, though some foragers still seek it out for its unique earthy flavor and impressive nutritional profile. Medieval cookbooks don't specifically mention Good King Henry often, likely because it was so common that writing down recipes seemed unnecessary. However, historians believe it would have been included in many potherb recipes, mixed greens cooked with salt, and perhaps a bit of bacon fat for flavor. Its iron-rich profile made it especially valuable for medieval diets often lacking in vital nutrients. Number 7. Alexander's, Rome's ancient celery. Did ancient Romans and medieval Europeans enjoy a vegetable that's now completely forgotten? They absolutely did. Alexander's was once so common that it was called the black pot herb because it was in practically every cooking pot across Europe. Originally spread throughout Europe by Roman soldiers, this tall plant with celery-like stalks and parsley-like leaves became naturalized across the continent. Every part was edible: stems, leaves, roots, flower buds, and seeds. Medieval cooks used the stems like celery, the leaves like parsley, and the seeds as a pepper-like spice. The roots were eaten like parsnips. The name Alexander's comes from its scientific name, Smyrnium alusatrum, which relates to Alexander the Great and the ancient city of Smyrna. Medieval people believed it had medicinal properties too, using it to treat everything from stomach ailments to bee stings. Monastery gardens always had a patch of Alexander's ready for both culinary and medicinal uses. Alexanders dominated European cooking until the 16th century, when celery as we know it today was developed and cultivated. Celery had a milder flavor and more tender texture, gradually pushing Alexanders off kitchen tables. By the 18th century, this once essential vegetable had become so obscure that most people had never heard of it. The flavor of Alexanders is stronger than celery, slightly bitter, with notes of myrrh and angelica. Medieval recipes show it was often used in soups, stews, and salads. One popular preparation involved boiling the stems and serving them with oil and vinegar, similar to how we might serve asparagus today. The seeds added a peppery bite to dishes at a time when actual black pepper was prohibitively expensive for common folk. Number 6. Cardoons, the medieval artichoke cousin. Ever seen what looks like monstrous celery stalks at a farmer's market and wondered what on earth they might be? Medieval farmers would have instantly recognized cardoons, a close relative of artichokes that was once a centerpiece of winter feasting. Cardoons look intimidating. They grow up to 6 feet tall with silvery gray leaves and stems that require careful preparation to remove their natural bitterness. Medieval cooks would blanch the plants while still growing by covering them to block sunlight, then harvest the tender inner stems. These required peeling and extensive boiling before becoming edible, but the results were considered well worth the effort. Particularly popular in Mediterranean countries, cardoons were a status vegetable at medieval feasts. Records from royal courts show them being served to honored guests, sometimes braised in broth and served with marrow. Monastic accounts reveal that cardoons were considered appropriate for feast days, even during fasting periods when meat was forbidden. Unlike many forgotten vegetables, cardoons never completely disappeared. They remain part of traditional cuisines in Italy, Spain, and France. However, they fell from widespread popularity due to their labor-intensive preparation and because artichokes, their more convenient cousins, gradually took their place on medieval tables. The taste of cardoons after proper preparation is reminiscent of artichoke hearts, but with a more distinct nuttiness and complexity. Medieval recipes called for them to be boiled until tender, then typically prepared with butter, spices, and often a rich meat broth. Some holiday traditions included cardoons in cream sauces or even batter fried as a special treat during winter celebrations. Number 5. Orach, the medieval mountain spinach. Would you believe that a leafy green common in medieval gardens has such beautiful colors it could almost be grown as an ornamental plant? Orach, sometimes called mountain spinach, grows in vibrant shades of red, purple, and green, adding both nutrition and visual appeal to medieval gardens. This hardy annual plant was particularly valuable in medieval kitchens because it grew quickly and could be harvested multiple times throughout the growing season. Unlike many greens that go to seed in hot weather, orach remained productive through summer heat. Its salt-tolerant nature meant it could grow in coastal areas where other crops struggled. Records from monastery gardens show orach was commonly planted alongside other potherbs like sorrel and good King Henry. Medieval physicians praised its cooling properties, recommending it for fevers and inflammation. The different colored varieties were believed to have slightly different medicinal properties. Red orach was considered hotter in the medieval system of humoral medicine. The arrival of spinach, which offered larger leaves and a milder flavor, gradually displaced orach from most gardens. By the 18th century, it had become rare in cultivation, though it continued to grow wild in many areas. Modern interest in historical vegetables and colorful salad ingredients has led to a small revival of this forgotten green. The flavor of orach is distinctive, slightly salty, with a pleasant tanginess. Medieval cooks used it in pottages, mixed green dishes, and as a stuffing ingredient. Some recipes show it paired with sorrel, eggs, and fresh cheese in springtime tarts. The vibrant colors likely made dishes visually appealing at a time when food presentation was becoming increasingly important at noble tables. Number 4. Scorzanera, black salsify of medieval gardens. Have you ever dug up what looks like a dirty black stick, only to peel it and find snow-white flesh inside? Medieval gardeners valued Scorzanera black salsify for exactly this surprising quality, along with its delicate oyster-like flavor when cooked. Native to southern Europe, Scorzanera gained popularity during the late medieval and early Renaissance periods. Its name comes from the Italian Scorzanera, meaning black skin, referring to the dark outer covering of the root. Beneath this unassuming exterior lies a nutritious, versatile vegetable that medieval physicians claimed could counteract poison and treat snake bites. Unlike many root vegetables that store starch, Scorzanera contains inulin, making it suitable for those watching their sugar intake, though medieval people wouldn't have understood this scientific detail. What they did know was that Scorzanera kept well through winter months when fresh vegetables were scarce. Monastery records show Scorzanera growing in medicinal gardens by the 1500s, and it quickly transitioned to kitchens across Europe. It never achieved the widespread popularity of carrots or parsnips, perhaps because of its more difficult cultivation and the labor required to peel its sticky roots. The arrival of potatoes eventually pushed Scorzanera further to the margins. Medieval and Renaissance cooks prepared Scorzanera by carefully peeling the roots, which exude a sticky latex, and then typically boiling them in salted water. They would serve them dressed with butter, herbs, and sometimes a splash of vinegar. The roots were also added to stews or fried after boiling. Occasionally, the young leaves were used in salads, providing a different texture and flavor than the roots. Number 3. Medlars, the forgotten medieval fruit vegetable. Did you know medieval people eagerly awaited a fruit so strange it needed to rot before it could be eaten? Medlars, often treated more like a vegetable in medieval kitchens, were once so popular that Shakespeare repeatedly mentioned them, though usually making bawdy jokes about their appearance. Medlars look something like a cross between an apple and a rosehip, with an open calyx end that medieval people called the dog's bottom, hence Shakespeare's jokes. The truly unusual thing about medlars is that they're inedible when first harvested, hard, astringent, and unpleasant. They must be bledded, a process of controlled rotting where the fruits are stored until their flesh turns brown and soft. Monastery orchards across medieval Europe grew medlar trees, valued for both fruit production and ornamental qualities. The small trees produce beautiful white blossoms in spring and have attractive autumn foliage. Royal garden inventories from the 14th and 15th centuries frequently list medlar trees among the most prized plantings. The decline of the medlar coincided with the introduction of new fruits from around the world. As peaches, apricots, and new apple varieties became available, the strange little medlar with its complicated eating requirements gradually lost favor. By the 19th century, medlars were already considered an old-fashioned curiosity. Medieval cooks served bledded medlars raw as a dessert fruit, often accompanied by wine or sweet spices. They also prepared medlar cheese, a firm paste similar to quince paste, medlar jelly for meats, and fermented medlar wines. The taste of a properly bledded medlar is often described as resembling applesauce mixed with cinnamon and wine, complex, sweet, and distinctive. Number 2. Rocket, medieval salad green with a kick. Would you believe that arugula, now a fancy salad ingredient, was once considered a poor person's food and an aphrodisiac? Medieval people called it rocket, and it grew abundantly, both cultivated and wild, across Europe. Rocket's peppery, pungent leaves added zest to medieval salads long before lettuce varieties dominated European gardens. Its quick growth, ready to harvest just weeks after planting, made it particularly valuable in medieval cottage gardens where space was limited and hunger was often imminent. Medieval herbalists attributed potent properties to rocket. They believed it could enhance virility, cure digestive ailments, and improve eyesight. Monastery gardens grew it, though monastic writers sometimes warned about its supposed ability to provoke lust, a quality that probably didn't hurt its popularity among ordinary people. Rocket never completely disappeared from European cuisine, especially in Italy, but it did fall out of fashion in Northern European cooking for several centuries. Milder lettuce varieties became preferred for salads, and rocket was increasingly viewed as a weed rather than a crop. Its revival as a gourmet ingredient didn't occur until the late 20th century. Medieval preparation of rocket was straightforward. The young leaves were typically eaten raw in salads, dressed simply with oil, vinegar, and sometimes a sprinkle of salt. Older, more pungent leaves might be wilted into soups or pottages. Some recipes called for rocket seeds as a seasoning, providing a mustard-like kick to various dishes. Number 1. Salsify, the vegetable oyster of medieval gardens. Have you ever tasted a root vegetable that mimics the flavor of seafood? Medieval gardeners cultivated white salsify, sometimes called vegetable oyster, for its remarkable ability to bring ocean flavors to inland tables. Unlike its cousin black salsify, Scorzanera, white salsify has pale roots and was more widely cultivated throughout northern Europe. Its oyster-like flavor made it especially valuable during religious fasting periods when meat and fish were forbidden. Clever medieval cooks used salsify to create dishes that satisfied cravings for seafood while technically remaining vegetarian. Monastery gardens particularly favored salsify, as monasteries needed to serve numerous meatless meals throughout the year. Records from the 13th century onward show salsify being cultivated in significant quantities. Like many root vegetables, salsify stored well through winter months, providing crucial nutrition when fresh foods were scarce. The decline in salsify consumption correlates with changing religious practices and the arrival of the potato. As fasting requirements relaxed following the Protestant Reformation, the need for vegetables that mimicked animal foods decreased. Simultaneously, potatoes offered greater yields and adaptability, eventually pushing salsify to the margins of culinary tradition. Medieval preparation of salsify typically involved thorough cleaning and peeling, no small task with its sticky surface, then boiling until tender. Cooks would serve it dressed with butter, vinegar, and herbs, or incorporate it into pottages and soups. Some medieval feast records indicate salsify being served specifically during Lent, often prepared with spices and almond milk to create mock fish dishes. Would you try planting these ancient vegetables in your own garden today? What forgotten flavors might your ancestors have savored that you've never experienced?